Overpowered anime characters are a problem most of the time. Before I begin, I would appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe for content every 2 days. I'll be talking about anime, manga, and in general fictional content every 2 days, or at least I will try. I do have a busy life because of college, but because I just finished a semester, I should be uploading more often. Overpowered characters can have a huge problem within their series. The main problem is that it can ruin tension between the characters in the series. You see, if you have a more even character in power, the fight will be much closer and there will be much more tension, bringing in viewers. Of course, you can have these characters in a series, but you have to do them right. Many anime and manga series don't do this right at all, and struggle to even write them well within the series. There are many overpowered characters in this series. Many are popular, but I will talk about the bad first. Yodarts, the Shanks of Fairy Tale, and the man that always pops up to clean any mistake, and which is left behind. Ruining the tension that the fight had prior, he is so vastly stronger than everyone else that the tension is ruined. Usually the fights are over before we even know it. Most people don't like Yodarts for that reason. Not only does he look like Shanks, but he is too strong for his series, at least for most of his series. There also question is, why is he there? What is his relevance to the story? It was never really cleared up through most of it. Another character I have a problem with their strength is Gojo. While I do enjoy the character, there are a lot of problems because of its strength. Strength can ruin any fight depending on how much stronger they are compared to the other. Not only that, but the narrative implications. The first fight we see Gojo is in Gojo versus Jogo. This fight was fine because it proved the overwhelming strength of Gojo, in the narrative sense as well, showing why villains were afraid of him. My main problem with Gojo is that they had to take him away by sealing. Gege didn't really know a way to defeat Gojo at the time, so he came up with sealing him. This helped the plot a bit, but we felt in the back of our heads that Gojo will return to save the cast, ruining the tension that was given. Lastly, it was obvious that Gojo was going to die against Sukuna. I don't have a problem with him dying. My main problem was what was going on in between the fight. We see Gojo overwhelm Sukuna, making fans believe that Sukuna was losing. So the shock of Gojo losing at that point put the internet in disarray. Even with his death, people always believed that he would come back because of RCT. Thankfully, he didn't because the tension of the ending was great. Doesn't fix the ending because it was still bad. Notice how overpowered characters that are bad are usually side characters that are good characters in heart. But when the antagonists are overpowered, they're mostly pretty good. Ushiwaka, the main antagonist of Haikyuu Season 3. This character is an overpowered character done right. It works effectively because it makes the tensions of this arc very effective. We know this because Ushiwaka was a character who continued to be hyped up since Season 1. Oikawa continues to lose to him in that team, made the viewers and readers know that Ushiwaka is dangerous. This was proven true. We saw Ushiwaka's skill and saw how the animators portrayed the ways of victory for Kurasuno. We see because Kurasuno was a team, they were able to push back and prove that teamwork conquers all. Even with this loss, we knew that he was someone who continued to stay powerful throughout the series. That's why it made him very effective, and that's why he was done right as an overpowered character. He didn't lose because Kurasuno individually was better. He lost because Kurasuno's team was better. Speaking of sports anime, a bad overpowered character is my GOAT, Aomen. The reason he's a bad overpowered character is that he really had no reason to lose. At all. Aomen was someone who can make any shot from anywhere. Not only this, he had the powerful ability of the zone. He shouldn't have lost to Kagami, especially so soon. This is a common complaint about Kuroko no Basket is that he lost the first match against Kagami in season 2. Just because Kagami unlocked his zone because of Kuroko. If this match were later and they won then, it would be much more effective. That's why Aomen as an overpowered character sucks. He could have been much more effective. He could have been the reason Kagami and Kuroko win the championship. Unfortunately, he was defeated early on, and it made Kuroko and Kagami seem much more powerful than they were at that time. Now, like I spoke earlier, characters can be done effectively. I think a really effective one is Varys and Whis. These two are very lovable characters for their comedic moments throughout the show. Not only that, but the two of them are very strong and lovable. They were so great because of how they were sidelined. These characters were done very effectively. In the Goku Black arc, we got a great excuse for not having these characters in the main story. The main problem is that they don't want to mess with the timeline. It is a rule by the god. So of course, when Goku and Vegeta go back to the future to fight Zamasu and Goku Black, they can't because they can't mess with other timelines. I love this explanation. It makes sense for the character. And honestly, added more tension to the story, which is what was supposed to happen. Unfortunately, earlier we get a really bad sequence, and that's Golden Frieza. The explanation does make sense because, they don't really have affairs with Frieza and they don't really care what Frieza does. All they want to do is eat. But the explanation is a little lackluster. The main problem that makes it worse is that Whis helped Goku and Vegeta in the end anyway, ruining the tension the fight had to begin with and saving these characters. That's why in the Frieza arc, it could have been done better and wasn't good at all. So at this point, they have a good and a bad moment of how to write an overpowered character. But I think what makes it great is the tournament of power. They were sidelined because all the gods of destruction were sidelined. Because Zeno wanted this tournament to be full of mortals. It made everything tense and made everything hype. Of course, there were some underwhelming fights, but overall, because of these characters being sidelined correctly, they were done great. Seeing Goku and Vegeta having to save the universe by working together and then working with Frieza to fight Jiren, it made it so great because Beerus and Whis had to be sidelined. Now for manga stuff, this is a different type of Beerus, but in the moral arc, it was a little bit of a weak excuse because he doesn't care about what happens on Earth. I find that a little weird because he does care about the food and the Earth's customs, which is why I don't understand why you wouldn't want to protect it, but I understand why he was sidelined. I just don't like the excuse. Of course, you could argue that this is bad, but all I'll argue is that it's only in the manga, so it doesn't really ruin the point that they're pretty great overpowered characters. Now, there is a way to make villains wrong that are overpowered. I think the biggest example is Yuha. Can't really say it right, but Yuha. A menacing opponent who gave a lot of tension throughout the war. But the main issue is how they defeated Yuha using an arrow. An arrow shot by Uryu. This ruined everything. And is a main reason why a lot of people don't view Bleach as highly as they should. Of course, I understand that Kubo was sick, and that's why he had to rush the ending. But it still doesn't excuse how bad it was. Especially how bad it was for an overpowered character to lose this way. With all this put in mind, we can see that overpowered characters are a problem and can only rarely be done correctly. But if done correctly, it can be effective and leave an everlasting impact to the story. Now, there are some outliers like Saitama that are very overpowered, but their reason they're overpowered is for the comedy. Both Saitama and Arale are both like this, and it makes sense for their storytelling, which is why they don't really have a problem. The best ways to do these characters is by making them villains and finding a great solution to how to defeat them. Overall, I'd rather not have overpowered characters as side characters. I would rather have them grow throughout the story. So there isn't a side character that can ruin the tension of a story. That's the problem with overpowered characters. And that's why most of them are problems. But there are a few that can be done correctly. Of course, protagonists most of the time can be done perfectly fine. It's mostly the side cast that really bothers me with this type of stereotype because it can ruin the tension of a story because they're there. Now, if you come up with good excuses for why they're not there, then fine. But once you ruin their moment by writing in a dumb way they lose or not finding a way to add these characters to not do anything, then I have a problem with that then. Let me know your thoughts on my argument. Of course, I'm just a guy chatting. I thank you all for all your support. Honestly, that Don the Don video did really well, and I'm so happy that you guys are supporting me. I will continue to upload as many times as I can. I'm busy, but I do enjoy doing this. This is fun. Anyways, catch y'all next time.